Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. South Africa has a new cabinet, which appears to be top-heavy with economic policymakers and ministers. Joining us in studio today is Terence Creamer, the editor for Engineering News, to give us his view on what the new structures could mean for economic policy. Terence, welcome to the Second Take show. We have a new cabinet and a new government structure. Can you take us through some of the significant changes, as well as what these changes could mean for the economic direction of the country?
Yes, I think what we've seen is a major restructuring of the economic portfolio, and I think your description of top-heavy is quite appropriate. I think you've got a very heavyweight Minister of Finance in the form of PRAVIN GORDHAN. You've got two ministers in the presidency. One of them was the former Minister of Finance, very respected TREVOR MANUEL, and Collins Chabani, who will have some influence over economic policy. We've got a new Minister of Economic Development in the form of PATEL, a Labour leader, and a very strong Trade and Industry Minister in the form of Rob Davies. And that doesn't even include all the other economic ministries that touch on policy. For instance, the Department of Public Enterprises under Barbara Hogan, and we've got a split minerals and energy portfolio, and we've also got tourism, which has an important economic contribution to make. So I think that we are entering a different era, and this top-heavy structure is going to have to navigate its way through. I think some of the tasks are very much hardwired. So the finance minister knows what his portfolio is all about. There might be disputes about whether he should be pursuing certain policy lines, but there's a Public Finance Management Act, and there's hardwired policy direction and also implementation that you have to pursue. But others are going to really rely on first force of personality. And obviously that's probably why they've brought in someone like TREVOR MANUEL, can bring in people together and knock heads together. But there are, concerns, are we bringing in people that are so different in their thinking that they're not going to be able to come to consensus? And then how are you going to bring a lack of consensus at a cabinet level to business and labour and the other stakeholders and try, go forward with one plan? In fact, Collins Chabani has already alluded to bruising battles that could take place over economic policy. I feel a fairly unhelpful statement this early on.
What is quite interesting is the emergence of the Economic Development Ministry under the leadership of EBRAHIM Patel, a trade unionist. What will his focus be on?
Well, he comes as an intellectual heavyweight, with impeccable labour credentials, and I think that he comes with also some very firm views about how the economic policy should be managed. I think there was initial feeling that this guy has been brought in, or this personality has been brought in to try and be a check on the neoliberal policies that have come out of Treasury, and a check on former Finance Minister TREVOR MANUEL. But I think the early statements emerging from Mr. Patel suggest that he is much more focused on microeconomic policy, trade and industrial policy matters, that there are going to be discussions around macroeconomic policy, and those debates will continue and need to continue. But he would like to see how we can use microeconomic policy to safeguard manufacturing and ensure job creation or job preservation in this very difficult environment. So I think that there is a view that, yes, EBRAHIM Patel is going to come with fairly much a protectionist philosophy, where he's going to use trade policy to protect manufacturing industry and protect jobs. He himself has come with much more pragmatic statements about costs and benefits and looking at all the instruments, and we'll have to see how that evolves. We know that in front of NEDLAC there is a discussion about our bound tariffs rates and whether we should lift our applied tariffs to bound tariff levels. Now this is a major gap that we could close, and it would result in more protection for manufacturing. But there are a lot of opponents to that, saying watch out for what it means for cost structures, for the competitiveness of the economy, and also ultimately for the preservation and the creation of jobs.
At this stage, the new government structure seems a little bit confusing. At what point will we have more clarity on how all these moving parts will fit together?
Yeah, I think that is going to be important. We were expecting a press conference during this week. We were actually promised one on Sunday by the president's spokesperson. That hasn't emerged. I think it's because we are in a bit of a complex environment where there are moving parts, where people need to define their roles. And I think there is a process of discussion underway behind the scenes, and these things need to be sorted out. And now we have been promised that in the next week or so, there will be much greater clarity as to how these different economic ministries with many overlaps are going to come together, work together on one national plan for making this economy competitive at a very difficult time.
Thank you very much. That's the Second Take show for today. Thank you for watching, and join us again next week for more news analysis.